I made over $3 million in my first 3 years selling on Amazon. The first step to starting my business on Amazon was to design my packaging, which cost me about $500 to have a friend who is a professional graphic designer design that. Registering an LLC cost me about $90. Barcodes cost me about $30, and the Amazon professional selling fees were about $39.99 a month. Then I had to find a manufacturer. The initial run of samples was about $100, and the inventory cost was about $3,500. I also spent an additional $500 on logistics. In this video, I'm going to share step by step exactly how I started my Amazon FBA business and which products I'm selling. And at the end of this video, I'm going to share the top 3 mistakes that I made. I'm also going to share the updated methods that I'm using to leverage social media and affiliates on TikTok Shop to launch products on Amazon as well as TikTok. First, I'm going to share with you the honest numbers that my business made and all of the details for how much it cost to start and how much revenue we ultimately drove as a result of that. These are details that most people probably would not want to share. So an important note, even though our revenue was over 3 million, there are a lot of other costs involved, and this was definitely not profit. So let's break down what all of those were so you can have a better idea. The second thing I'm going to share with you is exactly how I did it. Even though my mistake cost me about $50,000, my business did still bring in 500,000-ish the first year, which is something I'm really proud of. And third, the most important thing that I'm going to share with you is the big mistake that I made that actually a lot of Amazon sellers make. And hopefully by hearing about this, you can avoid this because it was a very stressful time and super costly to my business. Now, let me share with you how much it cost me to start selling on Amazon, as well as step by step how I created this business. My name is Ryan. Growing up, I was always really entrepreneurial and super interested in marketing in particular. When I was a kid, I did the normal stuff like a lemonade stand. I always knew that I wanted to do my own thing and be my own boss. I wasn't really confident that I could do it though, and that's why I ultimately pursued more of a professional career. I became a lawyer and actually worked as a lawyer for a few years, and as the years went on, it was more and more soul crushing, driving in traffic, sitting in my office, having people tell me to do things that I didn't like to do anyway. During that period, it really lit a fire in me that I have to figure out a way to get out of this. So I knew I had to find something that I was more passionate about that had the potential to earn enough that I could actually live in the way that I wanted. And I became aware of this opportunity to sell nutritional supplements on Amazon. It was Travis that I'd been following for a couple years who I saw he was doing that, and it opened up my eyes to see, you can do this even if you have no experience in it whatsoever. So I decided to start my own supplement brand called Maju Superfoods, and we decided to sell spirulina powder. It was something I was interested in. Now make sure you smash the like button because I'm going to get into how I found the products that I'm selling now and how I started my Amazon FBA business. At the very beginning, I needed to do some product research. This was a long time ago, so there weren't really any tools to help me. I had to do a lot of it just by manually searching Amazon and trying to guess how much things were selling based on review counts. But today you can use Helium 10. Helium 10 is a keyword product research tool. They have a couple other useful tools as well. These can really help you see exactly how many keyword searches and how much volume any product is selling. So the key to making money on Amazon is to understand that Amazon is essentially a search engine where people type keywords and they find products and buy them. So if you can figure out which keywords people are searching and get your product to be at the top position, and Helium 10 helps you see exactly how much you can expect if you achieve those top spots. And Helium 10 can show you how popular any product is, so you can see what customers are searching and which keywords they want to find products for. If you want to unlock the premium features for Helium 10, there's actually a link in the description below where you can get the best price for Helium 10 that you will get anywhere. It then cost me $500 to get the logo, packaging, design all completed. Because at the time I had such limited access to capital, I had to ask a family friend to help design the initial logo and packaging. If you don't know somebody that knows graphic design, there's a lot of other options available today. You can use Fiverr or you can use Upwork, or you can use a service called 99 Designs. I spent $0 to get photos taken of this product. At the beginning of launching the business, I actually took the photos myself. So if you don't want to do all the work yourself, there's a service that the channel recommends called FBA Creatives. They'll do the photos, the listings, the keywords, everything done for you. There's a link in the description below to check that out. I then spent $90 to establish my LLC. My own skills actually came in handy at this time because I was a law student, so I did a lot of the paperwork myself. I did, however, have to pay the standard filing fees. There's an $800 California LLC fee that we had to pay. So an LLC will cost you around $200 to get registered. There's a service called wyregisteredagent.net. I haven't used that myself. What I would say is, depending where you live, LegalZoom is a pretty good option that's affordable. You can also get your DBA, which is doing business as name, from LegalZoom for about $99 if you want some help. This isn't really necessity, and it doesn't give you any legal protection. It's just sort of a way that you publicly refer to your business. So example, if I'm Maju Superfoods LLC, I would register a DBA that's just say Maju or Maju Superfoods, and that sort of ties what I'm doing business as with my entity for some legal protection. Then it cost me $3,500 to get my first production run done with my supplier. I knew that I needed a US-based supplier because I was planning on selling a consumable product. So what we did was found a supplier through a database that had a list of dietary supplement suppliers. I believe it was called ThomasNet. Because we had a very bootstrapped budget and amount of time, we had to find somebody who was willing to work with a very low MOQ, which is like a minimum order quantity. We found one that was willing to do just 500. It cost me around $4 per bottle to fill with raw materials, and then another $3 to actually put it in the bottle and package it. Before any of that, I needed to get samples in my hand, and that was about $100. I wanted to make sure that my product was competitive with the marketplace, so I spent $200 buying all the top products on Amazon to do my own research. I needed to find a unique selling proposition for our spirulina. We ultimately did find an angle that worked, and for us that was having California grown microcystin free spirulina, which is a contaminant that pretty much all the spirulinas on the market had because they were coming from other countries like China where they just didn't prioritize that sort of thing. If you're looking to find a manufacturer for whatever product you're making, chances are you're probably going to use Alibaba.com to find that manufacturer in China or Asia generally. For consumable products like what I sell, we're usually using ThomasNet, which is a supplier database, or just Googling, depending on what we're trying to make. There are co-packers for pretty much anything that you could imagine. Manufacturing was more expensive than I thought it would be, and there wasn't really any guidance at the time to help me know whether I was making the right decision or not. Luckily for you guys watching this today, Travis has this YouTube channel and he has in-depth tutorials to walk you through all the beginner aspects of getting started with your first orders, and he has a program called the Passion Product Formula, which there's a link in the description if you want to get more in-depth tutorials on how to do this. At this point, before even getting my product, I had already spent $4,300, which felt like potential major loss for me at the time. But I knew that the potential for upside was still there, and I was willing to take that risk. On Amazon alone, there's over 180 million Prime customers, and there's only 1.1 million sellers, and I think a lot of those aren't even active sellers. So the potential to capture this demand of customers needing products it's only getting bigger year over year. As a fellow Amazon seller, I know that Travis has a lot of material available, including a 10-hour Amazon course that you can watch for free. My next cost was spending $500 to get my finished product shipped from my supplier to the Amazon warehouse. So because we were manufacturing in the US, we shipped with land freight, which is the cheapest way to do it in the US. When you're shipping internationally, is you have two options. You have air and you have sea freight shipments. Sea takes a lot longer, but it's cheaper, and air freight is much faster, but it can be, exponentially more expensive as well. Then it cost me $30 to get my UPC codes for the product. 10 years ago, I actually bought my first UPC code set from eBay. I wouldn't really recommend doing that anymore. You should definitely use GS1 and buy them from the official source. UPC stands for Universal Product Code, and this is the scannable barcode list that you see on pretty much any product you buy in stores. It was about $39.99 per month to sell as a professional seller back then. If you don't pay that, you're on the individual seller plan where you pay a 99-cent fee per item sold. So if you plan on selling more than 40 units, it's probably going to end up costing you more than the professional seller fee anyway. So in most cases, it probably just makes more sense to pay the fee. Now we were ready to launch the business, and I was feeling like a little nervous about the expenses I'd already incurred, which was over $4,000. I had to understand that, in business, you have to take some risks to have the reward. And this felt like a big deal to me at the time, but looking back, it's a pretty minimal cost to try your hand at launching a new business that could potentially allow you to stop working whatever job it is that you don't like. So today, if you're launching on Amazon, there's so much more opportunity to launch using social media, influencer marketing, where the whole playbook is a little different than it was when I started. Back then, it was more just list and run Amazon ads, and now you have to kind of take into consideration all of these external ways to drive awareness. I made $500,000 in my first year selling on Amazon, but it's important to know this was revenue. It was not profit. It cost me around $175,000 to produce all the spirulina powder units that I sold in my first year on Amazon. And there are a lot of fees that you need to pay when you're selling on Amazon. The first fee was $75,000, which is the 15% referral Amazon selling fee. That you have to pay this fee whether you're selling with Fulfilled by Merchant or if you're using Fulfilled by Amazon. Fulfilled by Merchant is when you're responsible ultimately for doing the shipping rather than Amazon. If you use FBA, which is Fulfilled by Amazon, they're going to charge you additional fees for that service. For me, I paid $125,000 to Amazon for the pick and pack fees. This is so they can get the product from their warehouse into the box and ship it to the customer. I also spent $50,000 on Amazon PPC, which is pay per click, and I'll explain how that works in a minute. And for my first year selling on Amazon, we made $75,000 in net profit. That felt incredible. I was able to actually make money in my first 2 months in a business venture, which, honestly, I wasn't sure how it was going to pan out and I was feeling nervous about it. The success, it all came down to product selection and finding a way to make my product stand out in the marketplace. And for us, it was a combination of the taste, the type of product consistency that we chose versus the competitors, and how we positioned the marketing of that product to stand out on Amazon. In just 1 year, I felt like my life had changed completely. But we did actually make a huge mistake with our inventory, which ended up costing us around $50,000, which I'll cover in a minute. I made $1 million in my second year selling on Amazon. It cost me $350,000-ish to make those products that we sold to drive over $1 million in revenue. And $150,000 of that went to the 15% Amazon fee. Plus $250,000 went to the Amazon FBA Fulfilled by Amazon fees. And this year I spent $100,000 on Amazon PPC. And in the second year of selling on Amazon, we made $150,000 in profit. To me, it felt amazing to feel like my business was growing year over year and I was able to make more than I was making from my job doing my side gig, which I actually loved doing. So we learned during this process that Amazon PPC can have a big impact on the growth of the brand, but it's also a very substantial cost that you need to be aware of. PPC is Amazon pay-per-click, where you pay Amazon to show your product for specific keywords. There's many different placement types that they have. You can target specific keywords. You can put it on competitors' products, on your own products. You can even run video ads. So the difference in how we launch products now versus back then is today we have social media, which is a big driver of growth for every product that we launch. This involves sending samples to potentially hundreds of customers so they can make content, and also paying content creators to make more content to get the word out about our products on TikTok, TikTok Shop, and Amazon. And I can cover more on how we do that in a little bit. So my fellow Amazon seller here, Travis, he has an amazing YouTube channel that has detailed guides on how to do Amazon pay-per-click, and he also has his passion product formula, which goes into detail on how to do all of these things. If you want to check the description, there's a link for that below. I also just started a new YouTube channel where I'm sharing more in-depth guides on how I'm launching products on Amazon as well as TikTok Shop using content affiliates on social media. Check out my new YouTube channel, which is at Ryan Rigney. Going from strong couple of first years, year 1 and year 2, into year 3, we wanted to find ways to capitalize on our prior success. During year 3, we got more engaged with producing cross-selling opportunities for our products and launching products that the customers would want to buy, as well as upping our aesthetics with a more professional designer. And during this year, we launched more products to the customers based on what they were already buying, and it paid off. Our third year was our biggest year yet. In our third year selling on Amazon, we sold over $1.5 million. I spent around $525,000 and I sold 75,000 units during that time. 225,000 went to the 15% Amazon referral platform fee. 375,000 went to the Amazon FBA fulfillment pick and pack fees. I spent 150,000 on Amazon pay-per-click. And so in just the third year of selling on Amazon, we made $225,000 in net profit. I felt like I finally had a viable income stream aside from my job. To see the growth of the product and the brand so quickly was really just eye-opening. But with this growth came some difficult choices as well. I had to kill some products that were actually profitable because the potential for them to be very profitable was low, and I needed to use that capital in a more efficient ways. Sometimes when you're running this type of business, you have to kill some opportunities so that you can go all in on the ones that are working more. And for me, this includes launching more sizes, quantities, formations. So instead of like just a liquid, you can do a capsule, you can do a gummy, you can do a dropper, and really just capture the market for what you're doing well in every possible way versus trying to capture all these different markets which customers don't really know you for and you have a disadvantage in. A big mistake a lot of new sellers will make is they'll see a trend and they'll try to chase it. By the time they launch their product into that market, there's already 100 other people doing the exact same thing. So instead of doing this, I would say focus in on something that has potential that you're interested in, not necessarily just based on a trend, and then get really good at that one thing. A couple years into selling on Amazon, we started experimenting with using social media, and at the time, particularly Facebook, to launch products. And we could pretty much get any product to rank for keywords just by using social media, an aggressive strategy. It's important to stay plugged into what's working and what's not, because at the time, launching with Facebook was very effective. Now it's pretty much not viable. And in the current day, like 2024, launching with social media and having content affiliates make content for you to grow awareness, that's the thing that's most effective. And the only way that you'll know what's working, what's not, is to stay plugged into groups that have people talking about this. Even though during this time we were growing, adapting, seeing a lot of success, I did ultimately end up making a mistake that cost me $50,000, which I wouldn't want to repeat. And we'll cover exactly what that was in a minute. So in the first 3 years of selling on Amazon, we sold over $3 million in revenue. But just remember, this is revenue, not profit. After all of the expenses that we've discussed, that left us with about $450,000 in net profit for 3 years. It really did feel amazing to see that my business could grow so much in just 3 years, but I could have earned so much more if I just avoided these 3 costly mistakes that I'm about to cover. So pay attention. Mistake number 1 was inventory. It turns out our product was a lot more popular than I thought it would be, and that ended up costing us about $50,000. The reason it did is we ran out of stock, and I didn't understand how long it took to get inventory from the supplier back into Amazon's warehouse. During this time, we were totally out of stock for the majority of it, and that caused our momentum on the product to start to slip, and our rankings as a result were suffering when we did finally get back into stock. It cost us a lot of orders during that time, but also afterwards because our momentum was totally killed. My second mistake was launching too many products that weren't really related to what we were doing best. This mistake cost us around $100,000. The reason is, instead of just reinvesting our profits into launching more, say, spirulina powders and getting better at that, I launched all these unrelated products and tried to capture so many different markets. And during that time, competitors came in and they did a better job at selling spirulina powder than we did. So we gradually started to lose market share. And as a result, this probably cost us over $100,000 in lost sales just because I wasn't focused. I was spread too thin and wasn't really particularly good at any one thing. The third mistake, and this was the biggest one, was going solo for too long. This mistake probably cost me around $500,000 over the span of those 3 years, and much more later if I hadn't addressed it. I had a business partner when I initially started, but for the most part, I was doing everything by myself, and I didn't have any staff to help me with, say, placing POs, getting inventory in, doing R&D. And what I learned over the years from reading books, having mentors, and just being in business in general, you have to allow yourself to operate in your zone of genius where you're best, where you have the highest value per minute of your time versus trying to save every dollar and not hiring people because you're trying to keep all the profit for yourself, because that will ultimately hold you back and make it difficult to scale and to grow. You'll never be able to do what you do best. What I would do instead, looking back, is find somebody to take some of those time-consuming, monotonous tasks off my hands, like placing POs, keeping inventory in stock, shipping things in, versus doing that myself, because every minute that I spend doing those things that don't really drive the needle forward for the brand and the business as a whole, I'm losing out on potential opportunities for, say, new products or marketing channels or ways to get that product more exposure. So I was able to build this business while I was working a full-time job, and I didn't have a lot of free time. So if I can do this, I feel pretty confident that mostly anybody watching this can as well. And I've been in contact with Travis for, I would say, like 5 years now. And I know he's a good guy who has been in this space teaching people for a long time, which is why I'm comfortable coming on the channel and saying he has the passion product formula. If that's something that you're interested in, I would say he does a great job at teaching people how to start and get into e-commerce and in this business in particular. If you don't have any funds, obviously, to invest in a program, he does also have a free 10-hour program in the description that you can watch as well.